Talofa from my father's people in the islands of Nukfetau and Vaitupu in the Tuvalu group. Mbola from my mother's people of the Rewa Delta and Taviuni. Okay, I know this is going to sound a bit blah, but a big source of my happiness is knowing that I am contributing to Fiji's future. And as a history buff, I know that our history, our heritage, is a massive reservoir of knowledge and potential that we can draw from to build our confidence in ourselves, to build our confidence in each other, and to be able to build Fiji's future. So that's how I ended up at the archives. I spent some time working in and with the media, but I eventually wound up at the archives. And at the archives, we see on an almost daily basis how heritage and history can touch hearts and change lives. You might ask, well, that's a big claim, OP. You know, that's a really huge claim. Sounds like a bit of rubbish, but this is an example. This marine biologist, microbiologist, sorry, from Australia sent us an email saying, my father's name is so-and-so, and then she asked for if we could help her dig up some of his details. So our team did that. They sent those details to her, and she was amazed because they clarified a lot of things for her, and then they brought everything home. She then asked for copies. After she got the copies, she eventually made her way to us at the National Archives. When she came to us, working with the team, they were able to unearth her, that she has Samoan connections. She was then able to connect with her Samoan family here in Fiji, and then visiting them was then able to find out where she came from in Samoa. She then went back to Queensland, gathered all her family, and then they went to Samoa. They went to her koro, to her village, and they made that connection. So that's one example. Yeah, so that's what we do at the archives, right? We make that connection. We help our people connect with what is theirs. A lot of times they don't know that it's theirs or that it's there. That's what we do. And a lot of the times we get the question, oh, so what do you do at the archives? Sometimes it's a well-meaning question. A lot of the times it's a sort of, look down your nose sort of, oh, yeah, so what do you do at the archives? To which I say, oh, nothing, we just walk around with our parchment and quill, doing our Gregorian chants, yeah. Just to get that nut away from me. He doesn't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. That is what we do. Yes, we do all the other things. We process archival consignments. We use international archival standards to apply descriptive works. We digitize, we microfilm, we carry out conservation works on historical documents. In fact, our conservation doctors are so good, Tauke Affairs has come to us and we're working with them to conserve the Wolinikaumbola, Fiji's indigenous records. So we do all of those things, but we do those things to do what you've just seen. That's what we do. That's the power of history. That's the power of heritage. Okay. So this is a bit of a boring slide, but we've got to put it up there. In 2020, we took a look at what we're doing, and we said, okay, so under the Acts, Public Records Act, Libraries Act, our role as the National Archive is to acquire, preserve, make accessible Fiji's documentary heritage, and to advise government agencies on records management. Are we doing our job? Yes. Okay. But are we doing Fiji justice? Are we doing our job? Yes. These are our boundaries. We're doing these things. But are we really doing justice to Fiji? Are we really fulfilling our obligation as an archive? No. Not really. Why? Because it doesn't matter what you have and how you keep it if people aren't using it. So we started to look at how we could take the archives. If Fijians aren't yet familiar with the archives, don't have the confidence to come in, if they can't come to us, we will go to them. So we started doing this in 2012, actually 2011. It was difficult at first because we didn't have any funding. But after getting some positive feedback, we did get some funding. Then we got a bit more funding so that at the end of that stretch of time, we could say to our bosses, look, we increased our outreach 500%. You know, say, okay, blah, 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 Opeta. What does 500% mean? You know, data without context is meaningless. Well, this is what we mean. For example, 2013, when we found out government was doing a roadshow to Rotuma, we took all our holdings that we have that we knew pertain to Rotuma, that relate to Rotuma, we made copies. That is land records, genealogy records, historical publications, historical photos, footage, compiled into a DVD, Coup, taken to Rotuma. Rotumans have a deed of cession. They have their own deed of cession. We made posters of those deed of cessions so that they can put it up in their homes, put it up in their schools. They didn't know they had these things. Access to information. Nation building. When your citizens get access to information, it builds their faith in the government or in their nation. It builds confidence in themselves. Then they can start to have confidence in others as well. This is one example. This is another example. Before Indian immigration was Pacific, before Indian indentured immigration was Pacific indentured immigration. Laborers brought from the Pacific. 2014, they had the 150th anniversary of their arrival. When we found out that was happening in Levuka, we asked to contribute. We took their records to them because we know for the first time they're all in one place, or as many of them as we could possibly hope for. This is the result. Without the presence of the archives, most of the descendants of still rely on verbal history relayed to them through stories. They are now confident that what they know is something that was recorded during that time then and there, and are reliable information. Many of them were so moved they had tears in their eyes when they returned from your tent. This is them, and that's the tent. Now, they're a composite. Most of them came from Vanuatu, some of them came from Solomons. But in the Solomons, there are many ethnicities. In Vanuatu, there are many ethnicities. Coming together to Fiji, they had to form one identity for their security, to survive. But in doing so, they started to lose parts of themselves. Doing this gives them that foothold, gives them that certainty. So we know that the outreach has an impact. We try to leverage that or increase that by, when we know that there's going to be a government roadshow to some provincial area, by announcing it. So we put it up on Facebook because it's free, and we announced it. We don't expect people in the hinterlands to have access to Facebook. We do expect their relatives in the cities and towns to relay the message. So when we found out it was going to happen in Namosi, we put out the call, we're coming to you, get ready. All we hoped for was that there would be more people there. But on Facebook itself, something amazing happened, amazing for us. Because the community took ownership of their heritage that was put on Facebook. And they started to write their history. What do I mean? I mean, this photograph, the only information we have is what's at the very top. Filling of registration forms, Namosi, 1962. The community then starts adding information. According to Nauroni Levu of the Umbati, far left-facing camera, Tuimbau Levu. In front of him, Buininga Wosotia. Black shirt, Kanito Levu, Teresia's husband. Immediately in front of him, Mikamasi. And first from the right, Taitai Tandeo the Maitonga. That's amazing. That is information we would never have any hope of furnishing for users. But the community is taking ownership of what is theirs. They're empowering themselves through this exercise, and it just blew our minds. And then it became clear, okay, we don't have a complete model. We still have a lot of kinks to work out, but this is an excellent opportunity for us. Facebook is now a major channel for us to get content out to the public. These are our two most successful posts. They are of our independence on the left from 2015, on the right here, this year. According to Facebook, this year's post reached almost 200,000 people. That's almost a quarter of our population. An audience size we could never hope to have actually coming to the archives. So Facebook has provided us an opportunity to inject history and heritage into popular discussions on topical themes. It's enabling us to demonstrate to Fijians that their history is relevant now and into the future, and we have a lot to learn from it. For example, finding a photograph to support Literacy Day, Charity Day, access to water, which is a huge issue now, and will increase the magnitude of this issue will increase with climate change. But it also demonstrates ingenuity, that our people made the most of what's around them to thrive. To talk about gender equity. Most people don't know that when the first lot of Fijians went to join the British Army, that there were actually women among them. I think there's 12 or 13, 10 of them here. Some others joined later. So it helps us to throw those things back into the community. This is from our Lest We Forget post. And some photos are just super. You just have to share them. You know, they just belong to the people. They're so fantastic, you just have to give it to Fijians because it belongs to everyone. And how nuts is this photo? 1959. All our guys did was give it a wipe down, digitize it, we slap our logo on it so that everybody knows this belongs to Fiji. And these people have been identified. If you actually go to the Facebook page, you look at the comments, it's quite entertaining. This is another thing, it's opened things up for us so that now we're able to work with other organizations to find Fijian heritage which is not present in Fiji and bring it back through Facebook. For example, designs like these Masi designs, you don't find that now. Putting this up online, people were questioning it. It's not real, or maybe this from the Solomon Islands. Some people were really vocal in their disbelief. This is what we talk about when we talk about the power of history. It opens us up, opens our imagination up so that we're not confined to these little boxes. We all know what, we've seen motifs, around and about. But because we see this and we know it's part of our history, it allows us to think of alternatives, to embrace more, not just to be limited to these small holes. Personally, this is my favorite thing. On International Biodiversity Day, whose theme was maintaining biodiversity, sustaining people and their livelihoods, we put this photo up of a fish drive in Banga. We expected people to respond, and there was a lot of response. People saying, oh, we do it, but it's called this, we do it, but we name it this. And then one guy breaks the whole thing down. He says, these Matangalis are involved, he names them. These are their roles. This is the process. This is what we do so many years out to ensure sustainability. The catch from this drive is only used for certain things. He lays it all out there. So it's Fijians writing our history. And for me, that is the most important thing. What usually happens is a professor will come in, a master student, PhD candidate. They will harvest this information. They may be really good people. Harvest this information, write a paper. By writing it, that person becomes the expert. Not us. Here, we are claiming ownership of what is ours in a very public way, letting everyone know. So I think it's important for us to delve into our history. Our job now, as we see it, is to encourage people, to entice people to investigate our history. Because when it comes to the subject of Fiji, when Fiji pops up, people don't want to talk about history because we're afraid of the coups, or Fiji is only known as the place where coups happen. No. All nations have their growing pains. Okay? Yes, the coup is part of our story. It is a part of our story. It is not the story. If we leave it to others, that's all it'll be. We have to engage with our history. We have to own it. We have to write it, even if it's on social media. Yeah, everybody's got their thing, as you clearly saw today. You know, I was the nerd in school. My mother went nuts. She couldn't believe it that every time I come back from the library, I come back with ancient Rome, ancient Greece, the Egyptians. She'd be like, hey, that's a picture book, OP. All these people are taking Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, stories, words, pictures. Say, hang on, man, look. Ancient Romans, they had shorter swords than the Celts because they had a different fighting formation. And, you know, I tortured my mother, but my mother and my father, because they were very practical people, and I'm, in many ways, I'm not. But everybody's got their thing. They saw that. Never mind if we don't get him, just love him. He'll figure it out. We just keep cheering him on. So yeah, bit by a young age, that was my thing. Another thing is, I'm just one fellow from Turaki. I'm not Ngoni Turaki. Ngoni Turaki, also Ngoni Wenbokasi, Ngoni Visari, Vitali, Nakasi. You know, like, those are the places that grew me, where I grew from. So if one nerdy fella from Turaki can entice people to do something hard, like, or something that they don't want to do, which is to look at our history, warts and all, if I can do that, what can the next generation do? You know, everybody's got their thing. Don't let anybody take that away from you. And you don't need to be super rich. You don't need to be super credentialed. Just start. Whoever needs to join you along the way will. Just start. Nawalebu.